What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the More Than Philly Sports Network. It is great to have you all here today. As always, joined alongside my co-host, Gavin Tony. It is the 28th of June. We are almost done the month of June. It's crazy. We're about halfway done the year of 2021. Man, did that fly by or what? 11:32 a.m. here on the East Coast. Gavin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Zach. Listen, I am extremely tired. If you have not got a chance to watch the Inside the NBA Inside Stories, like a little storytelling where they go behind the scenes and tell you about each one another. Yeah, Zach, listen to the Sir Charles Barkley story. None but laughs. It had me up till 2 in the morning laughing, so I am extremely tired. But Zach, how you doing? How was your weekend?
I'm doing good. Weekend was good. Had some nice weather this weekend. Obviously, it was really fun to enjoy. Played some pickup basketball. I'm not as good as I thought I was, so I got some work to do. But played some golf as well as always. Did not do as well as I wanted to, but I cleaned it up late. Just
As expected.
was not enough to get the job done. But other than that, a pretty uneventful weekend. The Phillies are very frustrating. They pulled off a win yesterday, but they're not looking pretty right now. And yeah, other than that, pretty good. Of course, we got a lot to go over today. Damian Lilliard could possibly win out if Chauncey Billups was hired as the head coach of the Portland Trailblazers. The Clippers fall down 3-1 against the Phoenix Suns, and the Milwaukee Bucks take a 2-1 lead over the Atlanta Hawks last night. Tonight is the Clippers and Suns game. We'll see if they can close it out.
If you're Kawhi Leonard, I don't know how severe the knee strain is. I don't know what the big deal is now. Zach, I mean, we don't know. We haven't heard anything. We just know they fear it was a torn ACL. I guess it wasn't because it would have been all over the news. I just see Kawhi Leonard just looking like a regular dude in the stands. I mean, Zach, did you hear the call on Saturday night? Mike Green said, and Kawhi Leonard is oozing of excitement. That was actually kind of funny. But Zach, I mean, if you're Kawhi Leonard, you have to suit up and play if you can. If not, this is it. This is it with Clippers. I don't believe in Paul George to do it again, especially Zach, the free throws at the end of the game. He's just not been able to do it.
You know, an interesting thing for me is why is Kawhi Leonard sitting in the stands and not with his team? Usually injured players are down with their team. It is an interesting sight. Again, this is Kawhi's last year of his contract. A lot of people fear that he will leave the LA. A lot of people think he'll stay. It's a bunch of bogus. But I don't know. Not being with his team right now, they've been doing better without him, to say the least. Now they're not because they're in a big hole against the Clippers. But they took down a pretty good Utah team as well. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to think about that whole situation, but that's just something to keep an eye on.
No doubt. Listen, when you got a superstar like Kawhi Leonard, you think he would want to be down there on the floor, just like Serge Ibaka is. I mean, for crying out loud, Serge Ibaka has surgery on his back, and I see him 90% of the time standing up or sitting upright. When you would think when you have back surgery, he would be up in the suite, kind of taking it easy, laying back a little bit. But Kawhi Leonard, I mean, second, this question: if your knee is hurt, right, why are you sitting in a chair, a close quarters chair? It looks like, and your knees are down, like in regular sitting position. Wouldn't you want to be a little stretched out a little bit more relaxed, comfort? I don't know what's going on with Kawhi Leonard. I don't want to say he gave up because Zach, when he was there, he was only like the best player on the team, if not maybe the best player in that series as a whole. But it's a little bit awkward that he's not down there on the floor. Chris Paul was down on the floor. Anthony Davis was down on the floor when his time missed. Zach, LeBron James, when he was there, he even went on a couple of road games. LeBron James did. So that's something that you got to look out for.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, it's been a question on a lot of people's minds. Maybe they might want to move on from Kawhi Leonard too if you're LA. Makes a lot of room to go out and get yourself another starter pair with Paul George, Reggie Jackson, who's kind of come out of nowhere this year for them. And they've been playing games, they've been winning, they've been doing their job. Again, this might be too much for them. It might be too much of an overpower. They were able to steal a win when they were in LA. I think for this team, they were able to beat Phoenix even when Chris Paul came back. They should have won the other night. They just were not able to put it together late. But I just got to think out loud. I mean, what is going to happen for this team? What's going to happen for them in the offseason? That's going to be a lot of questions. Last offseason, a lot of questions came as well. We talked about this on the show before. There was a lot of criticism on the Clippers this year. They lost Montrezl Harrell. They traded Lou Williams off. I mean, there was a possibility they wouldn't even be in this spot. Who would have thought they'd be in the Western Conference Finals, having a chance to go to the finals? They can come back down 3-1 at the tall order. But I think, honestly, right now for this team, for this Clippers team, it's over for them. They might win tonight, go back to LA for Game 6. It'd be a very tough ask for them to be able to pull off another win. I think that they are a very good team in Phoenix. And I think they might even get it done tonight at home. We'll pull back in Gavin here. Gavin, what are your thoughts on Game 5 tonight in Phoenix? I'm sorry, Game 5.
Well, it's a must-win for the Clippers. Zach, and Paul George has to show up. No more missing free throws. But if there's one thing I would say about Phoenix, and this is watching over TV, watching the last 2 series they played in, Zach, those Phoenix fans are loud from start to finish. As soon as tip-off, they're screaming. As soon as the game ends, they're still screaming. Zach, that's a hard environment to win at. We talk about Utah being a hard place to win. You could say Philadelphia with how harsh they are. The New York Knicks, I was going to give them some credit. They only won 1 game, and technically they really didn't win that. They only won a quarter, really. So going into opposing team's stadium, where one, they're excited to be there because, Zach, they got something to prove. They're the youngest team, I want to say, in the playoffs remaining. Maybe the Atlanta Hawks might beat them in age, but, Zach, they are playing with energy. They're playing with a whole bunch of chips on their shoulders. And, Zach, they got their leader in Chris Paul there, who's looked way better since coming back from the COVID. It's over. I mean, I don't know what's going to – I mean, who's guarding DeAndre Ayton? Zubac? No. You should have kept Montrezl Harrell. I know Montrezl Harrell's a little undersized, but Montrezl Harrell would have given
they need to get in a good interior defending big man. They have 2 of the best wing defenders in the league in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Again, Leonard's out, but none of them are behind DeAndre Ayton at all.
Do you think Kawhi Leonard stays? Because I actually don't think so. I don't think so. I think Kawhi Leonard leaves, but his destination is not going to be where everyone thinks it's going to be. Everyone thinks, oh, he's just going to go across the hallway. I don't think so. Kawhi Leonard doesn't strike me as a guy.
Definitely will not go to Los Angeles, the other LA, but Miami's been a conversation before. People have kept saying that they could see him going to Miami. I don't know. He doesn't look like he wants to be in LA right now. He really doesn't. He might be losing his team.
What if, and this is just a hypothetical thing, and we can come back to this later in the show. What if you're Kawhi Leonard, you look at, well, Miami, okay, the Sixers could be a good spot for him, and then you could really get rid of Ben Simmons and some other things. I don't know.
You get Kawhi Leonard, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid as your bottom 3 players. You get Seth Curry, and I guess whoever you start at the guard.
I wouldn't see. Here's the thing,
because that would probably be a sign and trade in that case for LA.
But if you would do a sign and trade, would you want to sign and trade Tobias Harris for Kawhi Leonard and a couple others, or Ben Simmons with a couple others?
They would only take Ben Simmons.
They won't take Ben Simmons. I mean, this is things you got to think of. I'm just saying, if they don't do a sign and trade, he just walks out the door and says, you know what? That's the place I want to go. They have more upside. We could do this for real. That would be a scary sight to see. And then you could really move Ben Simmons freely.
Could be quite possible. Again, I mean, that'd be a pretty darn good defensive team. I think for right now, the goal for LA is to win this series. It's unlikely. But again, this is a team that in the offseason, you're going to want to try to get some value for Kawhi. You're going to want to try to sign and trade if he doesn't want to stay. If he does want to stay, well, then you got to get yourself a really good center because it's been costly for them in the past. But with that being said, coming up after this, we go to the Eastern Conference Finals, the Bucks and the Hawks. The Hawks looked pretty dang good last night. They blew the lead late last night. Gavin's favorite player, Chris Middleton, decided to show up for once in the playoffs, 38 points. We're going to talk about that after this. We are now offering a new product on our Teespring. Wear a mask in public. We are now supporting a custom-designed mask with our logo on it. Purchase it today, and 10% goes to a foundation of our viewer's choice. It offers a full nose and mouth coverage, single-sided print, includes 2 2-inch elastic ear loops, non-medical grade product, and finally, $1 from every mask sale is donated to a nonprofit to feed children in need. Enjoy today's episode. Before we do get into anything else, we do have a little bit of breaking news. The Minnesota Timberwolves are interested in Ben Simmons, apparently. They would be very much interested in trying to acquire him via a trade with the Philadelphia 76ers. Karl Anthony Towns is one of the best shooting bigs in the league, so it would be one of the other good options besides Embiid for Ben. But there's not enough assets for Philadelphia there. I would not want D'Angelo Russell. Anthony Edwards would not even be involved in a trade. But yeah, that's just a little bit of a report before we get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Gavin, any thoughts?
Zach, I asked for All-Star, not a whole bunch of, well, it could have been. I mean, no disrespect to Anthony Edwards. I think he's going to be a future star in the league for years to come, but he has a little ways to go. I mean, the only highlights I've seen him was dunking. He had a couple of nice 40-point games and a couple 30 pieces, but the real star was in Charlotte, Zach. Now, Carl Towns not allowed in Philadelphia, apparently. That's what I heard. All right. I mean, if you saw the way how they were fighting the last time, Zach, when he was here, he got choked out. For crying out loud. Carl Towns got choked out by Ben Simmons and got thrown to the ground by Joel Embiid. There's just nobody on that team I would want. This is D'Angelo Russell from Brooklyn, sure, but D'Angelo Russell's injury history just strikes me as something you don't want to mess with. If you're gonna, I'd rather take a chance on a guy that has more to offer with his injuries. Like if you were to go for a guy, let's say if a Damian Lillard had a really bad injury history, right, or Steph Curry earlier in his career with the ankle injuries. I would trade for that, knowing that, well, when he's on, he's here. When he's here and he's on, that's 31 points a night. I don't think D'Angelo Russell was even a 20-point per game scorer this year. I wouldn't take that.
He didn't play a lot this year. He had a couple of injuries that he was battling. He really didn't have a clean year.
For the last 2 years, though.
Yeah, look, I mean, and he wasn't even anything special last year. He was a piece of the Warriors, but they weren't doing anything. They weren't winning games. He was just a stat head, and then from there he got traded to Minnesota for Andrew Wiggins, and he barely even played for Minnesota this year. And Minnesota was not a good team; they were one of the worst in the league.
Yeah, I'm staying away from them. I'm really staying away from them. Daryl, don't even think about it. I think he knows better.
No, I think Portland is. We'll talk about that in a minute, of course. In our last segment, Damian Lillard potentially coming to the Sixers, but let's talk about the Eastern Conference Finals. The Atlanta Hawks got blown out in Game 2. I'm impressed with how they went out there last night. They looked pretty good most of the game. Unfortunately, Trae Young got an ankle injury late in the game. Just did not look the same, was inefficient late, didn't have the ball really late, and the rest of the team couldn't step up. But, of course, Gavin's favorite player, Chris Middleton, showed up, played extremely well, and the Bucks took home the win, and they're now up 2-1 in the series as they play Game 4 in Atlanta tomorrow night.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, Zach has a lot of jokes that Chris Middleton is nowhere near my favorite players list, but he is one of my most talked about players. Why? Because, Zach, he gets paid like a superstar. Zach, he has a contract where it's an extension, and he's in the 150 plus right now. That's where Chris Middleton is. And I said, you have to show up and show out. Zach, last night, especially in the fourth quarter, he had 20 points in the fourth quarter. Majority were allowed 3 balls. Zach, Atlanta, it was all Atlanta in the first half, especially with Trae Young. Trae Young had 35 at the end of the game. We know about the ankle injury. Zach, he was kind of looking for a foul in the ref. I don't think he was going to get it. But it was all Atlanta in the first half. And in the second half, you have a guy, Chris Middleton, who just took over and looked like a star, looked like the all-star he was a couple of years ago, even last year to be exact. This is what they need in order for them to go to the finals. It can't just be Giannis Antetokounmpo. It just can't be, Drew Holiday, who, by the way, went missing last night. You played 41 minutes, only had 6 points. Yeah, you had 12 assists, but, Zach, that's basically what Ben Simmons did. He had 15 assists and 15 rebounds, and we criticized him for not doing anything offensively-wise. So here's the deal. Production like that is going to win you games. You have to get Chris Middleton at 38, Giannis at 33. Defensively, where these guys bring. I still don't know why Brook Lopez is playing in this series. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. But my last final take is Chris Middleton looked like Batman last night. And when the team needed him the most, they gave him the ball, not Giannis. Zach, I don't understand how you could be a 2-time reigning MVP, back-to-back, for crying out loud, and you're airballing free throws. How do you're an MVP and you're airballing free throws? We didn't ask you to shoot threes, but you're airballing free throws. Not only that, you're taking an hour to shoot them. I mean, Zach, I can make myself a sandwich. I can have myself a drink. Zach, me, you can go play around in mini golf and drive the Yukon and back before he shoots makes a free throw. So here you just have to play better at the free throw line. He was 6 of 13, Zach, but I don't understand why it's a struggle for you to make it.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting saga for him. He continues to develop a jump shot, tries to at least. It can be ugly sometimes. Only when he shoots them when it's completely uncontested, he takes advantage of it. But again, a player like Chris Middleton, I've said this before, guys like Jimmy Butler, guys like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Devin Booker, guys who are able to score from anywhere on the court. Those are always going to be your number one go-tos. Unfortunately, Giannis is just not that kind of player.
See, Zach, I disagree because I wouldn't put Chris Middleton in that category. I've seen Chris Middleton be missing. Zach,
But you're
He
saying
wasn't
we're
missing
talking about him versus Giannis, who's going to get the ball late. And if Chris Middleton's the only one who can score from anywhere on the floor, you have to
Oh
give him.
yeah, no doubt. Because I mean,
And that's why he gets the
of
ball over
course.
Giannis late. That's why he gets the ball over Giannis late.
But at the same time, too, Zach, it's when you're talking about I wouldn't put Chris Middleton in that class of play because I've seen him when they need him the most wasn't there. I mean, Jimmy Butler's is ahead of him. When I think of late game situations, that's what the Sixers were missing this year. Tobias Harris wasn't that guy. I think him and Tobias Harris are arguably the same type of player when it comes to late game situations where they're either there or they're not. I mean, it's like how many times have we seen Tobias Harris miss shots when we need him down in the late? Chris Middleton had a great night last night. I wouldn't go raving about Chris Middleton. I need to do a little bit more consistently and being helped. But Zach, they are the better team. They're the better physical team by far. Defensively, Drew Holiday, I had to see more. I know Trae Young is hard to guard, but come on, you let him have 35. See, Zach, this is where Ben Simmons deserves credit. Trae Young was not getting his points until as of late. And remember the last 4 to 5 games of that series where Trae Young was either 7 of like 30 from the field with like 15 free throws. Zach, he was getting his production late at the game. You have to rough up Trae Young in order to make him a non-factor. It's like I don't see Drew Holiday doing that. And where the hell is this PJ Tucker's defense? I was so good on Kevin Durant. Why don't you put him on Trae Young? Let me see that. I want to see for one, Zach. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, quite possibly. Again, Ben Simmons continued to make a strong case all year as one of the best defenders in the league. But I will end our segment with this before we talk about Game 4 in Atlanta. 3 guys off the bench last night for the Bucks: Pat Connaughton, Bobby Portis, Bryn Forbes. And one of those guys, Forbes, only had 7 minutes on the floor. They went 3 deep last night. The Sixers went 5 deep every single night against the Hawks. Again, we can talk about Ben Simmons missing free throws all we want, his lack of production in the fourth quarter. But again, you need to get your bench thinner in the playoffs. The Bucks are doing that right now, and that's why they won last night. Let's be honest. That's why they won. Finally, Gavin, before our final segment, Game 4 in the A tomorrow night. Who do you take?
I'm taking Milwaukee, Zach. This series is over because of Trae Young's ankle is not 100%. And Zach, we know what his game is: getting by the defender on the screen and throwing up a oop, right? Well, Zach, you would know this better than me. When your ankle hurts, your cuts aren't as perfect, especially in football or in a game like in basketball where you're running on hardwood, and your speed is not going to be that. The Milwaukee Bucks are going to not only go after him defensively, they're also going to attack him offensively. They're going to make Trae Young play defense, and he doesn't like doing that. Zach, I really got the Bucks in this one. I think the Bucks go to Atlanta in Game 4. They take the win. They go home and ultimately close the series out in 5 games.
All right, we'll have to see. Again, similar situation to the last series. They were down 2-1 to Philadelphia. We know how that all ended, unfortunately, but we'll save ourselves from having to suffer from some of that. Coming up after this, the 76ers. Ben Simmons, unknown if he'll truly be on the move or not. Daryl Morey expressed that he wanted to work with Ben on his skills. Doc Rivers pretty much doubled down on that. But now there's a player on the market who I've said before would be interested. The only player I would trade Ben Simmons for straight up right now. Sixers would have to pay a little bit more of a price because this player is that good. Who is that? We've probably said it 10 times already, but we'll keep the suspense going until after the break. Stay tuned.
Would you like to know how you can support the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show? If so, head down to the comments on our YouTube channel. You will see 2 links there. The first is our Teespring, where you can see a wide variety of apparel products, including our signature product, the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show sweatshirts, offered in a variety of different colors, including gray, navy blue, and more. Finally, we have our Patreon page, where you can become a monthly donation member. 10% of all donations go towards an organization of our viewers' choice. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode, and if you can't donate, that's okay, because you can always share this.
Welcome back here on the More Than Philly Sports Network. Ben Simmons, we've said it before, could be a problem for this team. His lack of development as a shooter, his lack of development as a scorer, or his regression, I should say, as a scorer, could arguably be a part of why the Sixers lost the Hawks series. I'm still convinced it was because of the too much reliance on the bench and not enough time for the starters, because all the starters, except for Tobias, who mostly played with the bench, had a positive plus-minus throughout the whole series. When you're up 26 and you're up 18, it should not come down to Ben Simmons late in the game. However, yes, you can't ignore the fact that if Ben Simmons just could have been a little bit better, the Sixers could have won this series, even with everything else considered. That's why he might be on the move. Damian Lillard, been a loyal player his whole career, but at this point, the sense of urgency in his camp is increasing. He was apparently not satisfied 100% with how the Trailblazers handled the new coaching hire. It could be possible that he's on his way out. And if he is, Ben Simmons and Damian Lillard trade would make sense for both teams. If they trade Damian Lillard, the team will agree to build around CJ McCollum, who is nothing short of a spectacular scorer. You give him a defensive player who's a facilitator like Ben Simmons, it's quite possible that they could make another step up. Of course, the scoring that you lose, you'll have to replace it. Simmons will have to become more of a scorer for them, so they would have to work with him. But, of course, you can't deny the defense that he would bring to a team that struggles so much with it. For the Sixers, you pair Damian Lillard up with Tobias Harris, Seth Curry, Joel Embiid, and then whoever will be your fifth starter. That would be a dream made in heaven, arguably the closest thing to Steph Curry that we have in the league. Of course, not as good as him, but you pair him up with the best center in the league, then that could potentially cause some issues for teams all across the league, especially a team with the Brooklyn Nets, who, of course, are going to be stronger and better next year. Of course, the Sixers would most likely have to send Tyrese Maxey as well as first-round picks and swaps in that deal as well, possibly another player or so, maybe I don't know, Matisse Thybulle could be in that conversation. I'm not sure. It would be costly, but I do ultimately think it would be worth it. But, of course, it's something we have to sit down and break down. This will be a story that continues to heat up in the offseason. Of course, we still have the Western Conference Finals, the rest of the Eastern Conference Finals, and the NBA Finals before we get to all this. But we're going to be doomed for an interesting summer, to say the least.
Zach, the reason I'm okay with Ben Simmons going, I think we had this conversation earlier in the year, especially earlier in our early talk shows when the season started, was if there's only a few guys that I'm giving away Ben Simmons for right away, and that's Damian Lillard and Steph Curry. Now, Zach, we know Steph Curry is not happening, but Damian Lillard is. Even though Steph Curry is a free agent at some point in this offseason, or unless he's probably going to take an extension. Damian Lillard is a closer. Some of the Sixers don't have. Damian Lillard is also a killer. The Sixers used to have one and Jimmy Butler. Damian Lillard is just a guard version of Jimmy Butler with better scoring. He can shoot the three ball from Zach. I mean, I'm gonna have to get a telescope to watch how far he can shoot the three ball. I mean, that's how. I mean, we know. But Zach, I would not sit here and say he's a better deep range shooter than Steph Curry because Steph Curry is a marksman. Okay, he's a sniper. But when you're talking about a guy like Damian and Joel Embiid who can both go for 30 at the same time, who are you going to double? The problem with Ben Simmons is this. He is a paint scorer. So is Joel Embiid. How are they going to get the ball? How is Joel Embiid going to be able to work if Ben Simmons is standing right there? Zach, tell me.
It's that's why he's always at the top of the key. That's why you see Embiid develop a jump shot. That's why you see the continued development of Embiid, but you don't see it with Ben Simmons.
But I think, Zach, and this goes back to Washington, Joel Embiid does a little Euro dunks, falls, and injures his knee. I don't want to blame that on Ben Simmons and where he is on the floor, but don't you think we would limit those possibilities where Embiid risks his injuries like that?
Yeah, if you have Damian Lillard at the top of the key, Embiid can be down low and get one-on-ones all day long. And then if it's double teams, you have Seth Curry out there. If you have Furkan Korkmaz and Tobias Harris, they can all pop the three. And Lillard, the playmaker as well, he gets the assists, he gets what he needs. Only thing you're missing is that defense, but by that point, it's going to have to be worth it.
But if you don't get rid of Matisse Thybulle, which I'm perfectly okay with keeping him, Matisse Thybulle is just more energetic of Ben Simmons. He has some things to learn, Zach, and I think we both can agree to this, where there's some fouls where he has to learn not to jump, or B, if you're behind somebody, don't try to go for a block because it's a foul. But Matisse Thybulle is arguably going to be first team all defense at some point in his career, maybe even next year. All right, he's that darn good. If you want to talk about getting rid of Tyrese Maxey, much without paying me, Zach, especially what we saw in the playoffs, I would okay. Anything for Damian Lillard, I'm all cool with. You bring Steph Curry back. You beef up the bench a little bit more. Maybe, Zach, like I said, maybe you explore moving Tobias Harris, and if you don't move Maxey with Harris, maybe you free some money up that way. Kyle Lowry most likely is going to join you in the offseason, and you bring him to the bench. This team can work. We talked about a pick and roll with James Harden and and Joel Embiid. But let's talk about pick and roll with Damian Lillard and Joel Embiid. I mean, Zach,
That'd be just as good, if not better.
just as good, if not better. In fact, Damian Lillard can also explode and attack at the rim at any point. You're talking about a guy that's going to come on, plays a chip with his shoulder every day in and day out. He's going to give you everything he has. If Damian Lillard doesn't give you 100%, then that means he must be tired or he really must be hurt. I mean, Zach, and that Denver Nuggets is, even though they didn't make it out, they go to 6 games. Zach, we know how that ends. They end up losing. You go to 6 games. He kept them in it. That overtime performance, Zach, where he kept hitting 3 after 3 after 3. And Austin was like, how? Please stop. It literally, he begged for him to stop.
And you combine that with the defensive Embiid. You combine that with all the talent that the Sixers have. I think it's a really good match. I really do think it is. I think that they're going to test the waters this offseason. I think Daryl Morey knows what to do. It looks like they're going to keep Doc Rivers. I mean, I don't really see a problem with that right now if he's able to adapt and adjust.
One. And ladies and gentlemen, I was all for Ben Simmons staying at some point after the game, Zach. But this guy, not only did he just not do anything shooting free throw wise, he lost his brother. He lost his go-to, attacking the rim and dunking. And he was so scared to go to the free throw line, he wouldn't even dunk the ball, for crying out loud, Zach. And the last play where Joel Embiid's like, I think that's the turning point. No, it's not. It's like, it is. It's like, he dunks the ball, you go to the line. All right, you get an N1, maybe you get an extra point. If not, that's guaranteed 2. Now you get to the ball to Matisse Thybulle, who doesn't get the guaranteed 2. He gets a 1 for 2. So now you only get 1 point instead of 2. Zach, this guy is mentally gone. He needs something, and I wish him nothing but the best. But if you're afraid to attack the basket at 6'10", 2 something, I don't know what you're good at. I don't know what you're good at. I mean, yeah, defense wins championships, Zach, but you also have to play offense too.
Yeah, we saw that in the last game. He just was not there at all offensively. Couldn't score. Couldn't do anything. Could not. You watch his former self, and he was able to do it even without a jump shot. With that being said, this is going to be a saga that lasts all summer, even possibly up to next year, early in the season, depending on how Portland and Philly start their seasons. I don't know. Sixers are still a top 3 team in the conference. They can be a top 3 seed next year. But man, oh man, this was the year to do it. Unfortunately, it pains me to say that as we wrap this up. But look, hopefully Sixers make a move, whether it's Damian Lillard, whether it's another role player, another killer. They're going to need it to be able to get past a team like Brooklyn next year.
And Zach, when you talk about when you talk about a guy like Damian Lillard and this could lead up to next season, depending on how teams start, I don't think so. Because if you're in Portland, you'll be smart and you'll make the moves before the draft and the free agency and be like, hey, this is what we have. This is what we got going on, and build your way up from there. You don't want to wait till everything's all set in stone. Zach, I don't see this lasting. I see this lasting right before free agency and right before the draft. Will he be a Sixer? I don't know. I hope. Will he be a Knick?
Find out. It's going to be a lot. I mean, it's going to be a lot of conversations, a lot of phone calls. Daryl Morey's going to have to make.
I just hope that Rob Pelinka's phone doesn't work. All right, because we don't need him going to the Los Angeles Lakers.
Without a doubt. With that being said, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Gavin, anything else you wanted to say?
Yeah, no, Zach, we're not going to end the show without talking about that heroic ending with Hector Nears with the Phillies. Zach, did you see that? Did you see that? He walked 2 players. No, excuse me. He walked a player. He thought it was a strike. No, buddy, I watched it over and over again. That wasn't a strike. It wasn't near a strike. It was Zach, if he would have gone and called the strike, the ump would have been on your favor. By the way, Zach, not only did that, then you give up a hit to lose the game. This is the stuff I'm talking about. This is why you don't like.
They blew 2 leads this weekend. They could have swept the Mets, and they could be. If they swept the Mets, they would right now be 2 games back or 1 game back. They're 5 games back right now. It's
like the new major league substance abuse or substance, or whatever they call it, the foreign, the spider tag. You know what I'm talking about. If Hector Nears were to use it, I still don't think he would be good with it. Zach, get him super glue. It don't matter. He won't be able to do it. I mean,
glue on there for Hector Neris. You see the Trevor Bauer thing where he had a ball like stick to his hand. And he's like,
I saw that.
Is this legal? Where he's like grabbing it.
I mean,
Bauer's funny. Yeah. I started watching some of his vlogs. He's pretty funny. Just put it in your hair and you take your hat off. You'll scratch it. Get some sticky stuff in your hand. That's how I'll do it. No one has a mess after all that, but it's all right.
I mean, Zach, this is unbelievable. You could cheat. You could. I don't know. I really don't know. At this point, Just fire everybody. Just fire everybody. Just ban the team.
Just ban them from Philly. All right. Well, before we get too carried away with that, the Phillies are 5 games back in the division. It is looking ugly right now. They play tonight against the Reds before they go back home to play against the Marlins. Maybe they'll start going on a run. Who knows? But I continue to pray and hope. But it's looking tough right now. The Braves and the Nationals are also heating up, so not good times for Philly.
Second, a brighter news because our teams are disappointing. Zach, I don't know if you got a chance to watch yesterday's game, but the Seattle Storm versus the Las Vegas Aces was actually really good. I watched the full thing, and Brianna Sawyer dropped 34 and still lost. So I'm surprised. Not too happy about that.
They're quite interesting times here right now. But in Wimbledon this morning, I was watching some of it. The men's tournament just got underway this morning. I'll probably be watching that all day as well. But with that being said, again, thank you everybody for joining us here on the More Than Philly Sports Network. We'll be getting plenty more shows here underway this week, some previews for some of the games this week as we continue to go around in the world of sports. 1 year ago, we were running the show and we didn't have sports. So we're fortunate to have it back. Thank you again, everybody. Have a great, great day.
Have a good one, everybody. And the Phillies just awful. Terrible.
If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. In addition, hit that bell icon and set it to all to get reminded of when we go live and when we post excerpts of